Warning, this show contains childish adult content and is intended for immature, mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views spoken are ours and ours alone, not those of any other bugger. If you're easily offended, we strongly suggest finding another podcast. Everybody neat and pretty, then on with the show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Dis After Dark. I am Nick as per usual, and I'm joined by three of my favourite people in the Disney world. Miss Boston White.
Hi.
Oh wow, look at that. Enthusiasm.
So enthusiastic.
Mr. Paul Dolan.
Hello.
Channeling his inner ear. Love it, love it, love it. And finally, Mr. P-Dubs himself, Paul Washington.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno indeed. So, it's been a long week, I think, for everybody. How is everyone feeling at the time of recording?
Much better for speaking to my favourites.
And Christian Ripley's not even here, so that means even more. Love it. Well, I'm hoping you, dear listener, are not feeling the same way that we are. And if you are, hopefully this next, however long this podcast is going to be, will help cheer you up. Now, before we crack on, we start the show each and every time in pretty much the same fashion with a round of What Are You Drinking? And I am going to start with P-Dubs.
Just having a sneaky Jack Daniels tonight.
Oh my days!
What's happened to the training regime?
It's still going. I've only got a few weeks left now, so I'm not going to improve any at this point.
That's the spirit. That's the give a shit spirit we want.
That is the spirit as well, Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
I'm I know what you mean. Like, I've been on a diet for about 4 weeks now, I think, and I've dropped weight, which is good. But there's been a couple of times. On Friday, I had a terrible blowout. I went into London, which I don't do very often nowadays, and decided to go and salute the Colonel while I was there. I had a healthy option from the Colonel, but I still did that. And then I called my wife on the way home, and she said, I've been really busy today. I haven't got anything out of the freezer. Do you fancy getting a pizza on the way home? And I was like, I didn't really have the heart to tell her that I'd had the Colonel for lunch. So we ended up visiting Papa John's in the evening. So that was an absolutely terrible day. But I think only the third time I'd had junk food in about a month. So I forgave myself and just ate better the next day. So it's all good. It's all good. Sometimes you've got to let your guard down a little bit. Speaking of letting guards down, Mr. Dolan.
Yeah, well, I'm on the mend, so I'm only drinking tea tonight. But I am drinking out of a Disney mug that I got in Florida.
What
so there is a connection.
What's in your mug?
It's it was a set of Mickey's coffee brand, but this one is Donald. This is the yellow one. If anybody knows those.
Okay. I saw some highlighter pens that are designed as the bins of Disney World. Have you seen those?
The pens? No.
I've
seen like salt
pens.
and pepper.
Yeah, we got the salt and pepper ones a few years ago. Actually, we've just never used them. We like them too much; they're just on the shelf. But they've released a set of highlighter pens that look like the trash cans as well. They're quite fun if you like that kind of thing. Boston.
1 second.
Oh my god! How's your back after that?
So what I'm drinking today is different, and on the can it says pronounced incorrectly since 1947. So I don't actually know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to say old.
Primark.
Yeah, it is Primark. It's not Primark. Old malt cider. Old moot cider.
It's Old Moot. Mr. Dolan's a big
Old
fan,
Moot.
aren't you?
Yeah,
Drink it
yeah.
often on this show.
Love it. Do?
Well, I'm drinking the passion fruit and apple version of that.
Good choice.
Yes.
Well, I've got quite an important day tomorrow, so I am just on the soft drinks. In fact, it's flat soft drinks, so I'm going to do this right next to the microphone. The world's smallest little fizz with the last remains of some cherry Pepsi Max. So yes, I'm being a good boy this evening. So cheers, everyone. But
Cheers.
yes, we've done the drinking part of the show, so now on to some newsy bits. So, Mr. D, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah, well, it seems to be dessert parties are the theme of the week, really. So, and particularly in the studios. So now they've got a dessert party. Well, they had a dessert party for the Star Wars Galactic Spectacular.
Yep.
But that's now being extended to include the movie Magic Show, which occurs just before the fireworks.
Okay.
So you get desserts and themed specialty drinks, but quite pricey, really. $79 for adults,
Ooh.
$45 for children.
Wow.
Yeah, but that isn't all of it. So then there's holiday dessert parties returning to the studios.
Okay.
The Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam. Try saying that when you've had a few. Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam, holiday dessert party. That starts on November the 7th. And then, let's see, that one is the same price. Well, $79 to $89 for adults, $45 to $49 for kids. And then, if that isn't enough, then you got the Phantasmic Dessert and VIP viewing, which is another dessert party with VIP viewing of Phantasmic. But that one is only a mere $39 for adults and $19 for children. So that one is definitely a bargain.
What'd you get for that? Just like one of those little 99p McDonald's ice cream cones?
It says a range of desserts and cheese and crackers, and also yeah, a bit random, and also like a specialty cup and a drink, and I think there's an alcoholic option with that as well. So that one does sound better value for money, but obviously Phantasmic's been around for a long time, so a bit different from the other ones, and. So all of those in the studios, but then in addition to that, you've got in the Magic Kingdom a Happily Ever After dessert party. That one really has been there, but it's extending its viewing locations, and that one is $59 for adults, $35 for children, or if you're in the Plaza Garden area, or if you're in Tomorrowland Terrace, it's $79 and $47 respectively. So lots and lots of different dessert parties. Have any of you ever done any of the dessert parties? I've never done one.
No, I mean... Sorry, Amanda.
No, I haven't done any of them.
I was just going to... I mean, that was the question I was going to ask, actually, because... Our Craig is out in the world at the moment.
Yes.
And did he do the Star Wars one, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he do the dessert party?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he posted a couple of videos, didn't he, the other day?
Did he?
Okay.
God, he?
Yeah, they were.
Sorry, that's an old joke. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he did post some pictures, videos of it, didn't he, on the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done a dessert party. I think the last time I was there, Cosmic Rays had a dessert party, but I think that was the only one I was aware of at the time. This is my take on it, and I'd be happy to obviously hear everyone else's. I think $79 for dessert is extortionate. Now, looking at Craig's video, there was a lot of variety there at the Star Wars one. But I still can't get my head around. Like, you're not going to eat $80 worth of dessert. and none of the desserts looked like they were anything really special. Like there was cupcakes, and there was some kind of was it like it was some kind of ice cream thing they made in front of Craig that it looked like they did with nitrogen. So you know when it kind of goes all weird.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. I'm not sure what it was, but that's what it looked like on the video. And I think there was some like blue milk type dessert thing as well. So they're well themed, don't get me wrong, and you had some characters walking around. I don't think there was any meet and greets in there, but they had stormtroopers walking through at one point. It just sounds like an awful lot of money for dessert, though. I mean, paying $80 for like a set menu of like, you know, like a 2 or 3 course dinner, I think it's quite expensive. I just think you're paying really not for dessert but for preferred viewing.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big benefit, really, isn't it? Because you certainly aren't getting
Phantasmic. You don't need it.
No,
I'd argue you don't need it. Yeah, I don't think so necessarily. I mean, you know, if there's a preferred, obviously you'd be in a preferred area, so you might get a better view than trying to get there early and fight your way to where you want to sit. But unless you're kind of like on a raised terrace or something, which maybe you are, I don't know, you're probably not going to get that much of a better view. I mean, I think a lot of the places you can sit in Phantasmic, you get a good view from anyway. So, but I mean, that's the only one I'd probably consider, to be honest, because of the price point.
Yeah,
you know, it's half the price, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Then as Paul said, you know, Phantasmic, if you get there early, or if you sign up for the Phantasmic dinner package, which, you know, you're getting a full meal then as part of that package, then you get preferred viewing anyway. So yeah, I think it's only good value if maybe you're really limited on your time and you definitely want to see whatever that event is, whether it's the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom or the Star Wars one, and you've maybe got like one shot at it, and so this is a way of guaranteeing that you're going to get a good spot, because, you know, it is really pretty random, the experience you have if you just go and wait in front of the castle. You know, we've had experiences which have been great, and then we've had other ones where, like 2 minutes before the show starts, the 6-foot guy in front of you hoists a kid on his shoulders, or he's got an iPad and he films the whole thing from his iPad, or, you know, so if it's important to get an uninterrupted experience, then you've got a better chance at the firework parties, because they don't pack them in. I've seen them from a distance, and there is space to enjoy the show.
They probably don't have to pack them in, because they probably don't fill it up.
Yeah, no, I don't think they do.
I mean, there's nothing to say that you wouldn't get the same thing there, surely.
It's possible. It's just, I guess, it's
more
less
space
likely.
as well. Yeah, okay. I mean, the other thing, and this kind of goes back to something I said before, but looking at dessert party, and I don't know how busy it was. I mean, there was obviously other people there when Craig was there, but I don't know how busy it actually was. But there was an awful lot of food, and it just kind of made me feel a little bit uneasy, because I did think how much of that food is wasted, or even worse, I suppose, in some ways, how much of that food is being used for the next show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh okay.
Yeah. No, not eating. If people want to eat, that's their prerogative.
But, I was thinking about Craig in the tangled bathrooms and giving him a good run for his money, but
I think he was the next day. But you know, I'm not. And the thing is, like, I love dessert. I do like dessert. I just couldn't eat that much of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that.
I think the other thing for me is, like, you know, there are so many good dessert options. You got, you know, so many good places to go for what I would call a proper dessert, you know. And some of these dessert parties and buffets and things like that, I don't know. There tends to be a lot of kind of like chocolate moussey type things and cheesecakey type things, which are pretty boring, and you know they're okay, but they're the sort of things that you pick out on them, and then later on you think to yourself, I could have probably done better there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of, I think from a value for money point of view, I'm not convinced, and we've never done one. I'm not saying I would never do one, but I'd probably need to have a good reason, like there's some amazing show and I've got one chance to see it, and I want to make sure that it's a really good experience.
What about you guys, Amanda, Paul? You know, hearing about how much these things cost, would it be something that you would look into yourself? Would you entertain the idea?
I can see why people would do them, but personally, it's just not for me. And I would never say that anyone was wrong for doing it, but I don't know, I've just never thought that it was a good idea for myself.
And I'm the same. I think it's a case of with having a little one, the problem is you can't guarantee that they're still going to be awake at that point when you're looking at these. And for me, that just seems like and you have to pay for it up front and everything. So it's just kind of like, I couldn't risk doing that anyway. But at the moment, I don't think I would. I don't think there's a need to. I think there's ways around it to see it and things like that. Certainly with things like Phantasmic, as I said, if you're really that desperate, get a fast pass. They're not that difficult to come by. Obviously, the fireworks is a little bit different because they don't do fast passes for them anymore. But you're going to be able to see them from somewhere in the park. And I don't feel the need that you have to be in a certain area. And half the time, these areas haven't got the greatest views anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, the terrace, I think Tomorrowland Terrace, unless you're right at the front of that, you're not going to have a great view. The other area in front of the plaza is pretty good, I think, but questionable value, I think.
I mean, again, there's probably people that it completely appeals to, in that they will eat that. You know, they'll eat loads of dessert. But for me, even if when I go to Disney World, and the reason why I've never gone for one of the dining plans is because I've never been able to justify it. Because for you to get a dining plan, you'd always have to go into a moderate or deluxe resort to get a dining plan. And the difference in value between a value resort and a moderate, the difference you pay, I didn't think was just to get the dining plan, because that's really what you got to look at. Like, if, for example, the difference between a value and a moderate was $300, then you have to work out, are you going to eat $300 worth of food? Just for argument's sake. I know you're going to get better facilities as well, but to me, the big difference there, more than that, is the dining plan, because the hotels have pools. The rooms will be different. Rooms might be bigger or whatever. But for me, I just want something clean and comfortable, and most of Disney hotels tick those boxes anyway. So that's why I've never been able to justify the dining plan, because I use $300 as an example. It's probably more than that, and it certainly was when we looked. So that's what you've got to kind of consider. But even without a dining plan, I normally find that I only need to eat twice a day at Disney. Like, I'll have 2 meals. So we'll normally have like a big breakfast in the morning to get us going for the day, and then we might go and have a snack or something, rather than go and actually have a quick service lunch, and then we'll have like a big meal in the evening. But I never get that. I never get as hungry. I think because the portions are bigger as well over there. I never get as hungry as I'd expect to. So in Disneyland Paris, I probably would eat 3 times a day. But in Disney World, I don't feel I had the urge to or the need to. And if I was in a dessert party, then I would definitely be skipping a lunch meal to try and make the most of it. But I still don't think, even if I went hungry all day, I'd still eat that amount of dessert.
Yeah, no, you'd struggle, wouldn't you? $79. I mean, you could that would be $79 a head. You could go to a signature restaurant and eat a meal, probably at least a 2-course meal, for that sort of money. Well, so I think you need to be really up for the experience and see the show, whatever the show is. It must be, need to be really important to you to see that from a good spot without a lot of people pressing in against you.
Well, I'm thinking when we did California Grill and we did that to go and see Wishes, I think 3 courses and a couple of drinks. We didn't have wine. We just had some alcoholic drinks, and I think including service charge, that was about $220, $250, something around that. For the two of us, and so that was for 3 courses, and then we got to see the fireworks from the pavilion anyway. So if you break that down, that's say it was $250. That's $125 each, and we got a 3-course meal out of it, and some of the nicest food on property, I would say. I mean, it's a signature experience. I'm not saying it's the best on property, but it's certainly decent food, and you got to see the fireworks. Now, at the same time, I would be interested to know what it's like now, because I don't suppose you'd get to really see the castle from there. You're so far away from the castle. I don't know what the effect is like.
You can see it, but you're side on, and it's it's a fair distance away, so it's a different experience.
I'm sure they do what they used to do, which is like pipe the music through with the delay, so that you still, because obviously light and sound travel differently, you still get the music synced up even from that distance, but you would now be lacking the view of what's projected on the castle, which wasn't so important during Wishes, because
that's true.
It was, they did project on the castle, but because of how it was projected onto the castle and what they projected, you could still see it quite well. But now with it all being animated, I wonder how much of it you can see.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it is a different experience. So so much more of it is the projection piece.
That's where that's taken centre stage. Well, I mean, it does take centre stage, but I mean, the fireworks are still obviously very impressive with Happily Ever After. But it's the things combined, isn't it? Really, I think. Yeah. So, P-Dubs, did you ever do? Have you ever watched Dreams from the Disneyland Hotel?
No, I haven't. I've seen like clips of it when they've been testing new shows. I know I watched like a video of someone recorded from Inventions when they were testing this new show, but no, I've never watched it from the actual hotel.
Because I think they do the same thing there. I think they pump the music in with the delay, but I just wondered what the view was like from there. Because again, you're quite a far bit away. Yeah. Well, you're nearer than you are at the Contemporary, aren't you?
Yeah.
In comparison, much nearer, but and you're straight on as opposed to being like on the side. But I still wonder what the view would be like from there. But I know that's quite a popular spot to see it from. And can you actually see it without dining reservations? Can you just go in the hotel and watch it? Or?
Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah, there must be other views. One of the bridges you must be able to see. Where you go down to Inventions, there's that bridge across the park, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So I would imagine you could probably see it from there as well. But it's the same. They do the same in the Californian hotels as well. They pump in the music for World of Colour and the fireworks at Disneyland as well.
Yes, that's a tip for anyone. If you don't like standing outside in big crowds, is that there are alternatives to seeing the fireworks shows at Disney, and you get a very good experience. It's not quite the same, but to be honest, I mean, I as much as I liked being in Main Street or in the Central Plaza to watch Wishes when it was, I had a much nicer time watching it from the California Grill because it feels more private and intimate then. So you get a slightly different experience. So I would say try and do it from more than one. Don't just try and see it from one place, and definitely try and see it in person if you're only going to see it once. But there are alternatives at the park, so something to kind of bear in mind there. Did anyone else want to add to that piece, or should we move on?
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
So polite, Amanda.
I know.
The Dis After Dark Podcast is sponsored by Unofficial.com, the home of Halloween Horror Nights news and rumors all year round. Find us on the web at www.hhnunofficial.com. So stop the fog machines and clear the cobwebs. It's time for another episode of the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
Hi, this is Wendy Prater at Magical Journeys Travel, proud sponsor of the Dis After Dark podcast. How can you be prepared for your next Disney vacation? By booking with me. You don't want to be that guy that's stuck in the crowds, waiting in the 4-hour Pandora lines and being turned away at restaurants. Contact me at wpmagicjourneys.com. Tell me you heard this ad at Dis After Dark to get $25 off your deposit. Best of all, there's no charge for my services, so Hakuna Matata, because you will.
So, Mr. Day, did you have anything else for us?
Just another small piece of news.
Well, we dragged that last bit out for 20 odd minutes, so don't wipe out
we
that.
We did. Yeah. This one's got to be good for at least 10. The Muppets Courtyard, which hasn't been there for very long, that's officially now being replaced by Grand Avenue. So, yeah, the area in front of the Muppets, what was the Muppets Theatre, and that was renamed fairly recently, wasn't it? So that was renamed to be the Grand Arts Theatre.
Yes.
Still featuring the Muppets.
Yes.
So no plans to change that at the minute, but that whole area is being rethemed as Grand Avenue, which, according to what Disney has said, is still got a Hollywood type theme, but it's a bit of a odd one because it's kind of classic Hollywood buildings in a modern day setting. So we're keeping some of the Hollywood of the past, but it's contemporary. So interesting to see where they're going to go with that. Obviously, there's the new bar is going to open up in that area, and again, that's going to be themed around the same sort of idea. So interesting, but they definitely seem to be dialing down the Muppets in that area, and I think from what I've read about Pizza Rizzo, although it's a supposedly Muppet themed restaurant, it isn't actually that heavy on the Muppets theming. So the Muppets have still got a presence in that area, but it seems like they're changing the theming to be less Muppet and more Hollywood, past and present, I suppose.
It's very odd. We've talked about the Muppets quite a lot on this podcast recently. Joshua Gillespie, if you're listening, hello. But, it's gone from us talking about the Muppets and saying, how long are they going to kind of keep it for, to them adding in that new show in the is it Liberty Square where that show is?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so that was fairly recent. Then obviously they changed Pizza Planet to Pizza Rizzo. And they've also been around the parks recently, they've had Bunsen and Honeydew.
Mm-hmm.
On
in Epcot.
Yeah, is it the Muppet Mobile Lab? Is that what it's called?
Mobile Lab, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's been going back around the parks. So every time you think something's like, the Muppets are surely going to go away now, and I'm not saying that because I like the Muppets, so but they seem to do something else, and I don't even know why they changed it to Muppet Courtyard, because they didn't actually change anything there, did they? Well, they took the balloon down, which made no sense if you're renaming the theme to if they are renaming the theme to Muppets, you'd expect them to add things, not take things away. So that was odd in the first instance. And then, Pizza Rizzo was been open less than a year.
Yeah.
I think it was like last year. I think it was like September, October last year. So I'd be surprised if they change it again, but at the same time, nothing would surprise me. Now, I'm pretty sure they said that that Muppet Vision isn't going anywhere, even though they've changed the name of it, and it's to do with theming. But I do think people are a little bit nervy about it. And I'm going to repeat what we've also said before, which is I don't really think Disney know what they're doing the Muppets, because they had the first film to kind of relaunch the Muppets, and that was quite a big hit. And then they did the second movie, and that kind of bombed. Well, no, it actually didn't kind of bomb, it did bomb. Then they had the TV show, which they threw all their eggs into one basket for, and got cancelled after a single season. Bearing in mind, got cancelled on the Disney-owned ABC network. So I'm pretty sure that they could have done something if they wanted to. I mean, let's be honest, S.H.I.E.L.D. keeps going on, and that doesn't do that great in the ratings. I'm glad P-Dubs has dropped off, because he'd probably be yapping at me now. But, so Disney obviously have some kind of say in these things, but that that flops, and then they've not really been doing too much with the Muppets. Like they do some webisodes. Apparently, I only know that because the guy that did Kermit for the last 27 years got fired recently, didn't he?
He
and
did,
got replaced, and we talked about that. And that guy has started doing webisodes, and they do occasionally things pop up on Disney Junior. So every now and again, I might catch a little Muppets thing, but they're not scheduled. So they just, I think it's when they've just got to fill 5 minutes. They just throw a random Muppets bit on, a bit like it's more Sesame Street than the more recent Muppets kind of stuff. So it's a bit more educational, but they just don't seem to know what to do, as far as I'm concerned with it. And I think if you are a fan of the Muppets, you might be getting a little bit antsy about the changes in the studio, just in case it does mean that they are going to get rid of it. I mean, Muppet Vision's been going now since 1991.
I could look up, but certainly quite a long time.
It was a lasting, and I think the reason why it's kind of been going, it's always been kept, is because it was the last thing that Jim Henson worked on, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think that was his last voice credit as Kermit. So there's always been that sentimentality about it, but I just don't know if that's enough to keep it going. And I do like Muppet Vision 3D. I think the 3D still works well. I like the interaction with the audience. So it would be a shame to see it go. But when a show's been going on for that amount of time, then unless what they're gonna do is a new Muppets film.
Yeah,
and I mean
like
in the studios. I don't mean at the cinema. I mean to replace Muppet Vision.
Yeah, I think they could. I suppose. Yeah, well, that would be good. But I think you're right. It's like after the first movie, things were looking good, and they've obviously thrown a bit of resource at it. And now that it's kind of bombed or hasn't done as well as they'd hoped, you could imagine them changing their plans and rethinking their plans. But what I think's interesting is that area isn't just the Muppet courtyard. It's part of what used to be Streets of America. So you've got to believe that if they're really going to make that theme work, the Muppet, that fountain outside has got to go. And, you know, you can imagine that you'd probably only be left with the facade on the theatre.
Mm. And I think as well, they haven't confirmed if the shop's going.
No. No, I mean, I guess you could leave the shop, but
if they get rid of the shop, then that's even less.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
To be fair, there's not a lot of Muppet stuff in the shop anyway.
No,
you're right. Other stuff is crept in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of Muppet merchandise, and maybe there's no need. I mean, one of my favourite bits of Muppet merchandise that I bought on one of the trips, I can't remember which one exactly, but I got a set of Star Wars figurines. They weren't action figures. They did do some action figures later on, but it was just a set of PVC, about 6 or something, of Muppets and Star Wars characters. This was obviously before the takeover as well. But, you know, I love that because I love Muppets, love Star Wars. It was a good synergy. But you don't get much Muppet merchandise now. You get, you know, Kermit Cuddly toys and, you know, the main characters and stuff. But that's really about it. I think we bought an animal drumstick when we last went to Muppet Vision from the shop. But
I've still got a set of PVC figures of the Muppet Babies from when I was about 5 or 6 that my son now plays with.
Love Muppet Babies. That's the one. I think that's the one cartoon from my youth that I am sad we'd never get to own because of all the licensing. Because of those, I mean, I'm sure Amanda, you probably don't remember Muppet Babies, do you?
Yeah, I do actually.
You do? Oh,
yeah.
Excellent. So, you know, the thing with the Muppet Babies, obviously, is that they used to kind of interject them into footage from actual films. Star Wars obviously being one of the more famous ones they did. And so, for reasons like that, because they used actual footage, getting clearance for those things is a nightmare. And of course, like, back in the 80s and stuff like that, no one really thought about distribution. You know, stuff was made for TV. They, you know, VHSs still weren't really available to the public at that time, so there was no kind of thought process behind it. And now, I mean, there's even certain TV shows would have had to replace the music. I think I know Quantum Leap was one of those. They had to replace the music in certain episodes of Quantum Leap to like generic music, and in the UK, only Fools and Horses for the same reasons. Couldn't get clearance. Say
this, Nick, but there is actually a reboot in the works.
Is there really?
Of the Muppet Babies?
Yeah.
What?
On Disney Junior. It's apparently meant to be starting early next year.
Is it? Was it puppets?
Yeah.
I think I remember hearing something about this because Muppet Babies originally was in one of the early Muppet films. Can't remember if it was The Great Muppet Caper or not. But it was in. But that's where it came from originally, and so they were puppets, and they obviously spun it off into a cartoon. I'm glad they're doing something with it, but I wonder. You know, I think personally, I love that cartoon so much. I don't know if it's going to work the same way, but I'll watch it anyway. Yeah, I like the Muppets. I just wish I knew what they were doing with it. And I wish Disney knew what they were doing with the property as well, because I just don't... I don't think they know. It's quite a rich property, I think, but they just can't seem to get a grasp on it. I mean, I started watching that TV series. They did it, like, was it 2015?
Yeah.
I think it did. And it was good, but I didn't really know who it was aimed at.
It certainly wasn't what you expect from the Muppets.
No, and it wasn't, and especially not after the films that had just come out as well.
No.
And so it wasn't really adult enough for adults, I don't think, but it was definitely too adult for children.
Yeah.
So it didn't really work. I think they'd just be better off going back and doing the Muppet Show. like, as they used to do, like a variety show.
Yeah, they should have just followed on that first film.
Yeah.
And just used it as a spin-off.
Yeah.
To bring the show back.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a slight soft spot for the Muppets Most Wanted, mainly because of who's in it and who directed it. Because I felt bad for both of them. But I mean, if you compare the Muppets Most Wanted to the Muppets, I mean, it's just not as good. The songs aren't as good. I don't think the story is quite as good. There were some good bits in it, but overall, I just thought it was a bit of a disappointment. And it was a shame, because I thought that was the start of something new. But like you say, they just, that didn't work. It's like, right, what can we do now? More adult. No, that doesn't work either. So now they're going the complete opposite way with Muppet Babies. So who knows? But at the same time, I suppose if they're taking it to a younger audience, maybe that'll be a good way of restarting it, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
grow the audience.
That's right. And man, that's what they should do. They should do Twilight Zone for babies.
Sure.
Yeah. Not sure
Sparkly.
how, but... Sparkly demons. Speaking of reboots and stuff, I just thought of something that I was going to talk about, and that is DuckTales. Woo! Started in America a couple of weeks ago. They showed the first episode of the new DuckTales series for 24 hours. That's all they showed, that on a loop for 24 hours. Just to make sure you didn't miss it.
Oh, God.
We didn't get it over here. I don't think it's going to start... Well, from what I understand, the series will start next year over here, and they'll probably just start... So they won't show the pilot early. They'll probably just start showing it once they've got enough episodes in the bag, which they tend to do a lot. Because for some reason, they don't like the American model of doing things, which is they'll show a new episode of something, then they'll have a break of a few weeks, then there'll be another new episode. So the Disney channels over here just wait until they've got a backlog of at least a couple of weeks worth of episodes, and then they'll start showing it. But I watched it on YouTube, because they had it on YouTube as well, and I think we've all seen clips of it, but has anyone else seen the new DuckTales yet?
No.
Okay. I quite liked it. It has a similar style of art to the recent Mickey Mouse shorts. It's not quite the same, but it's that more in line with that kind of animation rather than DuckTales. And it is a bit jarring, because I always thought DuckTales was quite... Well, actually all the Disney afternoon cartoons in it were all quite well animated. This is obviously cheaper and quicker to produce, which is why they're doing it for all their shows, because Rapunzel's... Oh, sorry. I'm doing my daughter, that's what she calls it. But Tangled, the series, is in a very similar kind of style, isn't it? It almost looks like Flash animation. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think, but it's that kind of more simple animation, which is just quicker and easier to produce. But I liked it. You could definitely feel the spirit was there of the cartoon, and there was a few throwbacks. And I think it will do quite well. They've already renewed it for a second season as well, so Disney have obviously got quite high hopes for it. I think they need it, to be honest, because after Phineas and Ferb, I don't think anything's really taken off. They've got a few cartoons on at the moment, but none of them seem to have kind of broken through. And even
Gravity Falls did alright, didn't that?
I really like Gravity Falls, but the thing with Gravity Falls was that the creator had a very had an idea of what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it and how long he wanted it to run for. And I think Disney wanted more, but he was very much like, this is the story. This is what I want to tell. And so it had an ending to it. Which is quite brave, I think, in some ways, because a lot of cartoons don't tend to, especially on Disney. They'll just run and then suddenly they just won't make any more episodes. And, I mean, Phineas and Ferb was... I think, a big hit for Disney, and they cancelled that or put it on indefinite hiatus or whatever. So that had an ending to it as well. But I mean, even the replacement to that, by the same creators, called Milo Murphy's Law, which I actually quite like. Similar style of art, and a main character voiced by Weird Al Yankovic. What's not to like? But it's not quite as fun, I don't think, as Phineas and Ferb was. There was something there with that cartoon. So they do need to have something else that's a success. And I mean, they've obviously got DuckTales that I think officially starts in September. I think that's when they're going to start showing new episodes. And they've also got Big Hero 6 coming up, haven't they, as well?
Yeah.
Which I think will start early next year. And again, in that same kind of art style. It's not... It looks similar to the film. In fact, does it look like the end credits of Big Hero 6?
Yes.
I think it does, doesn't it?
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah. So, which is fine. I think that looks quite good, and that would be quite interesting. But I think they are starting to think about, we need to have some hits, because they're probably getting a bit done in the ratings compared to things like Nickelodeon and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I liked it. The only complaint that my wife had was that Scrooge McDuck sounded too much like David Tennant.
Yeah, in most things, David Tennant doesn't sound like David Tennant.
No, exactly. But I think by that, I think what she meant really was the fact that, Scrooge has always had quite a distinctive voice, and it's a bit older and it's a bit gruffer than 40-year-old David Tennant. He sounded a bit young. I think that's what she really meant by it. Mm-hmm. She didn't mind the fact that he sounded Scottish, of course. She's got nothing against the Scottish people, Paul.
No, well, who would?
The English back in Braveheart days, but
that's true.
Other than them, not many. But yeah, that was the only thing. But I think you'll get used to it after a while. But yeah, I think it's worth a watch. So if anyone was kind of on the fence, I'd give it a go. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I was expected to, if I'm honest. So there's DuckTales.
There are some little shorts available introducing each character, I believe, as well.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Are they on YouTube as well, or?
I'm not sure. They're definitely on Disney Life.
Okay.
They might be on YouTube. But yeah.
Yes, Disney Life. So, a question I was going to ask you. So, I mentioned earlier about DuckTales and the Disney afternoon cartoons. They're the ones that everyone remembers. So, and I don't know how many of these you'll remember, but I certainly remember the first one I ever loved was Gummy Bears.
Yeah,
that was my favourite. They bounced here and there and everywhere. DuckTales, obviously. I wasn't ever that bothered about Tailspin.
No.
I couldn't get my head around Tailspin because it starred Baloo.
As a pilot,
nowhere near a jungle.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, everyone tries to blank it out, but we have to remember. So we had that. Then we had another one that I liked, because it didn't change the Jungle Book too much. In Darkwing Duck, I like Darkwing Duck. And then they kind of faded for a little bit, but then they come with one of my favourites. And at first I didn't really get it, but once I got into it, I really, really enjoyed it. And it was unlike any Disney cartoon I think they'd done to that point, and in fact probably since. And this is why I asked you about Disney Life, Paul, because I wanted to see if it's true that it's on there. Do you know what cartoon I'm thinking of?
The only other one I can think of from the Disney afternoon was Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers.
Balls, I forgot about that. No, I love Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and we've talked about that on here before. And I also neglected Bonkers the Bobcat, who, of course, we've talked about as being a rip-off of Roger Rabbit. But no, the cartoon that I wanted to see, if it was on Disney Life, as I heard it was, is Gargoyles.
Let's have a look.
There's a silence that falls while Paul looks up Gargoyles on Disney Live.
There's nothing on there.
Oh, that is annoying. I'm sure I saw a tweet that said Gargoyles is coming to Disney Life.
Maybe they're going to bring all of them back now that Ducktales is coming back. The original Ducktales is on there, but that's the only one. Oh, and Gummy Bears is there.
Oh, interesting.
Other than that, they're the only two.
Recess.
That was a bit later.
Yeah.
But yes, I quite like Recess. I
love Recess.
Yeah, it was great.
I quite like.
I used to watch that with the kids.
Yeah, it's always the best excuse though.
Oh yeah.
See, you had that excuse. My excuse was I had a younger brother, so just because I was too old to watch it, he was allowed to watch it. Therefore, I could. And I actually quite like the Mighty Ducks cartoon as well, even though it was a bit random, because obviously that was a spin-off of the films. But in the Mighty Ducks cartoon, it was a bit like Turtles, but with ducks. So they were all hockey-playing superheroes.
Yeah.
But they were ducks rather than kids from the film. But Gargoyles was quite a dark cartoon. It was a bit more like, I suppose, like stylistically as well, it was probably a bit more like Batman the Animated Series. So it was more grown up, and definitely a bit more violent than anything else they produced. Ever. I don't think they produced anything like it since. And there were rumours for a while of them doing a live action film in the late 90s and doing a continuation of it. But yeah, I really miss Gargoyles. But I'm going to have to find that tweet now and then complain to Disney Life, because I was going to renew my subscription. But if they haven't put it on there yet, then what's the point? Is Tron Uprising still on there, Paul?
Let's have a look.
I love this
it was.
podcast of what's on Disney Life.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, I still never watched all of those episodes.
Films.
That's another reason to get it, because I recorded what I thought was the entire run of it on Disney XD, and it missed some episodes out. So I'm still going to watch those. But yeah, that's another good one that they did. But yeah, Gargoyles. Well, hopefully they do bring it to Disney Life, and then you can all see how wonderful it was. But fine. Well, Disney Life, if you're listening, get it on there now. You're stopping me paying your subscription. I have to steal it from Craig or something until you do. Mr. D, was there anything else you wanted to bring to the table?
Well, we talked about additional cost experiences with the dessert parties, but one additional cost experience that is going away as of tomorrow, I think, is the express transportation option.
Yeah,
well, that didn't last very long, did it?
No, 6 months.
Express transportation, we hardly knew ye.
Yeah. So this was the park to park, from a backstage dedicated pickup point, park to park, $15 per day. Well, it was initially. Then they tried to put it up to $29, I think.
Is it just not working as well as they thought it was going to? Is it because of the minivans?
Yeah, I think combination of both, really. Yeah, I think they put the prices up.
Yeah. And
I think that affected it. And then obviously they've introduced the minivans.
There's also talk that the stop in Magic Kingdom is actually where the new theatre's going.
Oh no, it isn't
as well.
Oh yes, it is. No, I don't know. I know where it is. It's between Buzz Lightyear and Carousel of Progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the pickup point.
Yeah, and I think that theatre is going to go all the way back, kind of behind Main Street, so it sits behind Carousel of Progress.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Also, Tron will be around that area as well, won't it? So there's that to consider as well. From people that I've seen online that used it, I didn't hear too many negatives from people that used it, but it always looked empty. It didn't seem to be a very popular option. Now, I don't know if that's because it wasn't well advertised, or, as you say, that putting the price up just made it too expensive for people to consider.
Yeah, I think, certainly I read some views on it, and they were just opinions, but I think at $15 it was a reasonable value if you were going to park hop, but then $29 starts to become too expensive. And remember, that's per person, so
yeah, that's it. If you've got a big family, it soon adds up.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, locals will just drive from park to park.
Yeah, or I mean, obviously they've got the mini vans now, MINNIE. But previously, I don't know if it's still the case, but you could use Uber. You could just order an Uber, and that would be a lot less than $15 per person.
Well, yeah, I think it's about $15 from around Universal to an Uber.
Yeah, so it really is excessive then in that case.
Yeah. So, go on.
Well, I can't say you'll be missed too much, especially when there's alternatives coming into play anyway. But it just seems odd that it kind of has come and gone so quickly. Like, Disney don't normally lose their faith in something that quickly, but maybe the minivans, they weren't really thinking of those at the time, or they thought it might take longer for them to get going.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't announced prices yet for the minivans, have they?
Yeah, $20 a journey.
Oh, so that's even more money, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
not per person.
Yeah.
Right, so that's for the van.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which can hold, I believe, 7. I'm sure I read.
That's not many though. Like, I mean, how many people is Craig out with at the moment?
There's 8 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, if Craig wanted to do that now, they'd have to have they'd have to get 2 vans.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though whether they may combine it. I'm sure I read somewhere that if you needed one that was bigger, they just charge you the one flat price.
Okay.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, there's every chance as well that they might have a special one that accommodates more anyway.
Yeah, I heard they're going to bring out one that features a dessert party. So you get in the van and it's like blancmanges and things like that.
Jelly.
Things that wobble as you go around corners.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me. That'd be $100 a trip. Eat as much dessert as you can in the 10-minute journey between parks. Okay, cool. Was there anything else from you today?
Nope.
Okay.
That was all I had.
Amanda?
No.
Was there anything you wanted to discuss, or?
Yeah, actually.
Ooh.
Have we already talked on here about all the new Halloween merch at Disney?
We certainly have not, and I've seen a few bits. And
Okay, then I am so excited because there's loads of super cool stuff. So, I've seen, I don't know if the stuff's out in Magic Kingdom yet. I assume there is so, with Mickey's Not So Scary starting very, very soon.
Well, it's next week, isn't it? Is it this week?
It might be. No, wait, was it this weekend? No, it can't have been. It must be next weekend.
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
Yeah.
How long's Craig
It's
been out
Friday.
there?
It's
It's
Friday.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know Craig's doing it,
Uh-huh.
isn't he? Yeah.
So I'm assuming that it's out in Magic Kingdom now, but the pictures I've seen are from Disney Springs. So we've got 2 new pairs of Halloween themed mini ears. So we've got some beautiful Halloweeny, sparkly orange and black ones, which I am so excited about. They look so cool. And then we have some black and purple Halloweeny mini ears with a little mini badge in the middle of them. They look cute, but I definitely prefer the orange ones. There is loads and loads and loads of clothing. Absolutely loads. Probably, I'd say, about 30 different clothing items. And they all
for Halloween?
All
Just
for Halloween.
Wow.
But usually, if I see a bit of Halloween themed clothing in Disney, I'm kind of like, it's cool, but I probably wouldn't wear it. I would probably wear 90% of this for once. It's actually really cool designs. There's a super cute purple hoodie with like skulls and minis all over it. That's adorable. And there's lots of new decorations, like for a Christmas tree. But if you're the kind of person that has a Halloween tree, you can put them on your Halloween tree too.
That's a Halloween tree.
Well, I've seen that recently. People can. Well, right. I'll tell you a secret. In my Liverpool house, in my mum's Liverpool house, even, I have a Christmas tree that I keep up all year round.
That is breaking news.
Yeah. And it's pink, and it's got lots of glittery decorations on it, and there's some Halloween-y things on it, some Christmassy things on it, some Hello Kitty stuff on it, and I just saved time by never taking it down. So you could realistically put a tree up in September and leave it up all the way through until January and just slightly change the decorations. But you don't even have to if you buy Nightmare Before Christmas ones.
Well, I have seen the Nightmare Before Christmas Halloween tree before, so I'm not, the idea of a Halloween tree is not alien to me. I do know that people do have such things.
Uh-huh. But there's so many cool new decorations. So many. There's there's a really, really cool Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas shirt that's kind of a mashup of Nightmare Before Christmas and Haunted Mansion.
What?
So she's a tightrope walker. It is so cool. And the best thing that I've seen so far is the wreath from Nightmare Before Christmas with the teeth.
Yeah.
A giant one.
So, like, one you'd put on your door.
One you could put on your door.
Well, you wouldn't put on your door because it would be on your door for minutes before someone had it.
I'd put it on the inside of my door.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is something. I mean, the thing I saw, I didn't see the same thing as you, but I saw some video of someone looking around, and I saw the cuddly toys that they do, which they do pretty much every year, don't they? Of the main characters, Mickey and Minnie, they always have in Halloween outfits. I know we got one for, I think when Alice was first born that year, we got someone to get one for us. I think Mickey was dressed as a vampire that year. But they always do like Halloween cuddly toys. But they do a really cool mug this year of a Mickey pumpkin.
Yes.
Which is a familiar theme. I mean, we've got a trick or treat bucket that's the Mickey pumpkin from when we went the last time. But the mug looks really cool, and on the back, so on the front of the mug, it's the more traditional Mickey kind of pumpkin face that they put on that merchandise. But on the back of the mug, it's more like a scary face. So it's a little bit more evil on the back of the mug. But
oh wait, I saw one more super cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of mugs, the mayor.
Speaking to a mug.
Yeah, speaking of mugs, the mayor from Nightmare Before Christmas, a mug of his face, both sides, with the hat.
Ah, they've been doing.
Oh my god!
They've been doing a lot of those. I went into the Disney store the other day in London, and they've got a range at the moment of cups which have lids, mugs that have lids. Sorry, so it's definitely a thing at the moment. But I haven't seen one with a lid that would be as tall as that. That does sound really cool, actually.
It looks awesome.
I do
Honestly,
love the
I'm
Halloween
going to
stuff.
spend all of my money in all these shops.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we like going at Halloween to any of the parks, because you do get some really cool merchandise. You get much cooler merchandise in Disney World and Disneyland than you do in Disneyland Paris, but you always get some really cool bits. And if I was going out this year, and if I was going to Disney Springs or something this year where I could potentially buy some of that merchandise, I definitely would be spending rather a lot of money on that, and definitely would be buying my wife one of those, but I'm not, so I can't. Of course. But I mean, anything Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm glad that Disney care about it now. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, when that film, I remember when I used to read comics, I remember seeing a poster for it in a comic, for it coming out at the cinema. I had no idea what it was, because this is before the internet, before you could watch trailers online. I just saw this image of Jack and the kind of, I don't know what, like the bridge. I don't even know what it is. Like the hill thing they walk up that uncurls.
Yeah.
You know the thing I'm talking about? And that's normally on the poster. So it was just that. And it just said Tim Burton's Night Before Christmas. I thought, I need to see this film. And it didn't get released in the UK until Christmas of '94. So it was a whole year after, and some months after it came out in America. And like it was hardly being shown. I remember like begging to go and see it, and I loved it. But that was it. There was no merchandise or anything that we could buy over here. And I think even when it came out in America, there wasn't much. There was some toys you could buy. And I remember seeing adverts for the toys, and you can only buy them from impulses, and they were so expensive. Like, and this is like mid-90s. You were looking at like £30-40 for the Jack Skellington action figure, for example, which I could never afford. And then I remember it must have been about 2000, 2001, something like that. A toy company got the rights to make Nightmare Before Christmas toys, and they re-released them as, like, on the same cards that they came out of. So they looked like the vintage toys. And I remember going to Forbidden Planet and buying the whole lot when they came out, and spending a stupid amount of money. And they're still all in packaging, because I had no way to display them at the time, and I still don't now. But I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I was so excited when they started doing merchandise. And then Hot Topic heard about it, and then, you know, it blew up.
But I've got a little 4-year-old brother, and he has been obsessed with Nightmare Before Christmas since he was maybe about one and a half. And even in the last few years, I've found it really, really hard to get hold of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff in England still.
You get some bits every Halloween season at Disney stores, but it's normally
but not much.
No, and it's normally things like snow globes. You get the odd cuddly toy. I remember one year, my wife bought me an Oogie Boogie, like beanie bag type thing, when Disney Store used to do Beanie Baby things. And I remember seeing like a cuddly Zero, but you don't get much. You normally get a Jack cuddly toy come out. Normally him and Santa or something. But you're right, you don't get much. You don't get much.
So now I just binge buy everything Nightmare Before Christmas that I see in Disney and bring that back. But I did get some cool figures that were kind of like Legos. Kind of.
Were these Japanese? Oh, okay, yep.
But
Okay.
they were really, really hard to find. Because I wanted to obviously get them ones that hadn't been opened.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want ones that had like been in kids' mouths off eBay. But yeah, they were really, really hard to find.
Just so you know, not every toy that goes on eBay has been in a kid's mouth.
I mean, it might have.
but there's every chance. There's every chance.
Exactly.
I think, I got some of those. Oh, it must be about 10 years ago now, when they were released in Japan. See, I think it was NECA that did the action figures as well. I think they buy the moulds or the license afterwards for the moulds, and so kind of make their own versions. Because I remember getting them from I got them from somebody in Japan, and they cost me a small fortune because you couldn't buy them, and shipping costs and everything like that. But it was at the time when I had disposable income, so it was fine. And yeah, I got a set of about 5 or 6 of them, I think, and they're probably the same as what you're talking about, because they look like they clearly weren't Lego, but they were that kind of type of figure. I got a really cool. One year I got a playset of the roulette table.
Ooh.
During the end of the film, that had a Jack and an Oogie Boogie. Again, never opened. I really want to get that back someday, but I suppose unless my parents make a miraculous change in their decisions, that won't be happening. And I've also got quite a large Jack, maybe 12-inch tall Jack, which has about 10 different heads.
Oh.
So they've got like different expressions. Because have you ever seen how they made The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, they had hundreds of heads with like slightly different expressions. So this was a selection of those. But then you could pose Jack as you wanted him to, and just have him with the head that you wanted him to be represented at that time. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of love for Nightmare.
The strange thing though is that in terms of the actual Christmas parties, it's a different movie that's the main theme this year. Anybody know what it is?
It's the what?
So for the actual Mickey's Not So Scary Christmas party, there is a movie that really the event is themed around.
Oh no, I don't know. What's that?
Hocus Pocus. It's the Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah, it was last year as well.
Yeah. If you look at the merchandise, it's Hocus Pocus merchandise.
That's weird because there's no anniversary for it.
No.
Like, came out in 93, I think.
Yep. 93.
So, saying that though, I remember when we went to Mickey's Not So Scary in 2010, there were 3 people that dressed up as the sisters from Hocus Pocus, and their costumes were phenomenal. Like, all night long, people were asking to have their pictures taken with them because they were so good. We kept bumping into them, and I mean they were good. And again, I think that's a film, maybe even more than Nightmare Before Christmas actually, has kind of been a bit unloved, because there's been hardly any merchandise for it. So it's interesting doing something with it now. There's been rumours, hasn't there, of a sequel, but nothing actually confirmed, or nothing in production at least anyway.
No, I think that's been Bette Midler talking it up.
Yeah, and I'm surprised, because you'd have thought if Bette Midler wanted to do it, what's stopping them doing it? It can't cost that much to do a Hocus Pocus film, can it?
Well,
the first one wasn't like a big budget spectacular.
No.
So, that's weird. Let's blame Sarah Jessica Parker for holding out.
Oh, it probably is.
I thought you were going to tell me off then. Not agree with me.
No, you're probably right this time, Nick.
Well,
that's the only time I'll ever say that.
There is a first time for everything. Because as we know, Amanda doesn't know what the best Space Mountain is by far.
Yes, I do.
P-Dubs, was there anything you wanted to discuss before we finish?
Yeah, one that I think may possibly make you cry, Nick.
Oh, God, is Tron 3 cancelled again?
The Electrical Parade has now finished forever. It is done at Disneyland and is being packed away.
I will say this openly and honestly on this podcast, and not everyone will get this, and that's fine. The Electric Light Parade to Disney parks is what Terry Funk is to wrestling. And what that means is they can keep saying it's retiring, they can keep saying it's going away forever. It will come back. I am not convinced that the Electric Light Parade has gone forever. I really don't. The fact it's going in storage and not being smashed up suggests that anyway.
Well,
they wouldn't say that, I suppose.
No. Apparently it was in fairly poor condition when it arrived in California.
Wow, that's what the
and took a lot of work.
Oof. You know what? I mean, I love the Electrical Light Parade, and I've always said that. And I think a lot of people... I mean, it was the first parade I ever saw. Or certainly the first parade I ever remember. And I think it's such an iconic parade and such an unusual parade. It really sticks out, especially if you're young. And, I mean, who here hasn't seen it in person?
I'll say no.
Yeah.
Yep, see it.
Silence speaks volumes. So I think we can all say, it was great or whatever. At the same time, ooh, that's a funky noise.
Sorry.
Not at all. I liked it. At the same time, I think it would be good to get a more updated version of it.
And I think Disneyland have already got it.
Yeah.
In Paint the Night.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, there'll always be something about the first. And, you know, if all they did was they created a museum piece out of a couple of floats or something, I'd be happy with that. If they did what I think they did last time, which was they sold the light bulbs off, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did something like that. That'd be nice. Because you can have a piece of the history or whatever. But it's not getting any younger, is it? It's been going for, 40 years? Was it just the 40th anniversary of it or something? So, yeah. It's sad, but there are worse things, I think. Maybe I've just got a bit old and I've come to terms with it and accepted that it's not going to be around forever. But it's still a shame because it is, you know, I have really happy memories of it, but I just can't see it's gone forever.
No,
you know,
definitely think back.
Yeah, and even if it comes back as like the Electrical Light Parade version 2 and everything's brand new and they've just done the lights differently or something, I can, you know, see that happening, but I can't see them never doing an Electrical Light Parade again. And like you say, Paul, you know, they've got Paint the Night, which is a variation of the theme anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
they even used the same music part of it.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. And the opening spiel is basically the same.
Fair enough. But I do think Disneyland Paris needs it as well. It needs something like that.
It does, but I don't see
really.
them spending the money.
No, I suppose
Not at the moment.
Yeah, no, you could be right.
If they were going to get one, it would have been for the 25th.
Yeah, I suppose they put their eggs in the basket of Illuminations.
And that's why I can't see it coming back to Disney World either. Because with their 50th coming up in a few years, it'll be something new.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Possibly, or they'll wheel it out again, Terry Funk style. One of the two. I was just about to wrap up, but then I remembered something myself, actually. A friend of mine that I work with, who sometimes listens, so hi Stuart, if you are, he asked me about booking a trip his son was interested in going to Disneyland Paris a bit later on this year. So he said, what are your tips for having a look and everything like that? So I had a quick look for him. And just to give you an idea of how I think inexpensive anyway it is to go to Disneyland Paris sometimes, I had a quick look at, he said about the end of October. So I had a look at the end of October and the beginning of November, because obviously that's when Christmas starts. And this year, just in case you're interested, 11th of November is when Christmas kicks off, which is a bit later than it has been in the past. I think I've been there on like the 3rd of November and it's already been Christmas. So, but I had a look. Halloween to stay at the Santa Fe, I just looked at the cheapest options, was £800 or something for 2 adults, although children under 7 went free. But if you wanted to go in November, I got that down to £434 to stay at the Santa Fe for 2 adults and 2 children under 7 for 4 days. And I thought that was pretty reasonable.
Not bad.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
I had to say slightly cheaper than that myself, but I thought that was a really good price. 3 nights, 4 days, £434. It was, and I looked at the Eurostar as well, because that's how he said they wanted to travel. And even now, for those dates, I could get £38 return on the Eurostar each way.
That's really good.
So that's what, just under £80 each return.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially like, kids under 4 as well would be able to go on laps. That was, there were only 2 adults going, but because of it was just the offer that it was children go free as well. But I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
So for like
it's
less than £600 for 2 adults, 2 kids, I thought that was reasonable. So I see sometimes people like finding trips for like £1,000 at like Santa Fe or Cheyenne and asking if it's a good deal. But you can get some really good deals, and I think, bearing in mind it's, middle of August now, November's not that far away, and normally the price goes up as it gets nearer. So have a look around. That was with Disney Direct. So you might even be able to find cheaper deals than that, but I don't think you'll find it much cheaper with park tickets. But deals are out there. So if you're contemplating, definitely have a look. Coming up to Christmas. And that's all I had. So just before we wrap up, was there anything else from anyone else?
Nope.
No.
Nope, nothing from me.
Cool. In that case, I will say thank you very much for joining me. Thank you, dear listener, for listening to this podcast. If you don't already, please subscribe. If you do subscribe already, cancel your subscription, resubscribe, then cancel, then resubscribe again. Does help our iTunes numbers for some strange reason. And also leave us a review. That also helps, and it's always appreciated. Even the bad ones, which we do get from time to time. Although I always like to challenge those people, but they never want to respond. Speaking of which, Universal After Dark, flying up the charts.
Yes, I'm so proud, and so much thanks to everyone who's been listening and everyone that's been interacting in the last week with me and the rest of the guys. I've had so many messages about Men in Black and how
really?
people just think they're going to kick my bum on it.
all the best tips given away. Do you know how many places higher we were than our friends at UUOP?
I'm not too sure.
I know we was definitely above them. So, Lee, Tracy, Co, it's on you now. But yeah.
But we have an episode on Wednesday, and Luke's coming back on. I know that everyone loved when Luke was on, so be happy to hear he's coming back on Wednesday. And Luke's just brought out 2 whole Halloween Horror Nights videos of the new ScareZones in the park.
And of course, typically, as P-Dubs pointed out in the group chat just after Universal After Dark came out, that we recorded the episode, and then mere hours later they announced a load of ScareZones.
Yeah, Chris infected us with that ScareZone curse.
So,
Goddamn Chris Critley coming back. You're not invited anymore.
don't
You
say that.
are, Olivia, you're my bestie.
He's on Wednesday's show. So I'm assuming that's what you'll be talking about this week, is those new ScareZones.
Yes.
Excellent.
We're very excited.
Yeah, they did announce some good ones. Cool. Well, please listen to Universal After Dark as well if you don't already. It's like this, but about Universal. That's it for us for this week. Next week in the UK, it's a bank holiday. So I don't know if we're going to reconvene later that week. We might even have a week off. I don't know, guys.
Ooh.
We'll have to see.
We may have some Craig audio.
Yeah.
We definitely have for Patreons. I'm waiting for Craig to finish all of his audio, and I'm going to put that together. I think Craig might be putting some out on here as well. But either way, yeah, there might be a little episode for next week. I don't know. Depends if I can be asked to do any work. I'm actually on holiday next week, so I'm only on staycation, mind you. But even so we'll see. You might get a whole episode. You might get a Craig special. You might get nothing. You'll have to wait and see. But until next time, thank you, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, boy! Thank you for listening to this show. If you would like to support us and the other After Dark Podcast Network shows, please visit our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DisAfterDark. That's patreon.com/DisAfterDark. As well as supporting the show, there are other goodies available, including badges and soon t-shirts available as a thank you for your support.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast.